While the world watches China and India, one Southeast Asian nation has quietly built world-class infrastructure, attracted global tech giants, and now sits at the crossroads of global trade. It's not a superpower, but it might just be Southeast Asia's smartest economy. This is the story of Malaysia's remarkable rise. Malaysia has emerged as one of Southeast Asia's most dynamic economies, a region already known for its impressive growth over the past few decades. Once considered a relatively modest agrarian economy, Malaysia has transformed into a diversified, upper-middle-income nation. While this transformation isn't entirely unique in today's global landscape, the way Malaysia has accomplished it is worth paying attention to. We live in an era where billions of people, especially across Asia, are accessing capital, infrastructure, and education at unprecedented rates. But Malaysia's path stands out, not because it became the next China, but precisely because it didn't try to. Instead, it focused on leveraging its own distinct advantages. And if the country stays on its current trajectory, Malaysia may not only join the ranks of Asia's economic elite, but possibly even rival regional giants like South Korea and Japan, not necessarily in size, but in influence, geography, position, and strategic leverage. What sets Malaysia apart begins with its geography. The country is split between Peninsular Malaysia and East Malaysia on the island of Borneo, both sitting at the crossroads of one of the world's most critical shipping routes. The Strait of Malacca is one of the busiest maritime corridors globally, carrying about a quarter of all global trade. That alone grants Malaysia substantial geopolitical leverage. Its position also offers a rare time zone advantage. Malaysia overlaps labor hours with key Asian economies like China and Singapore, while also syncing with the early business hours of Europe and the late hours of the US. This has turned Malaysia into a favorable location for global business operations, digital entrepreneurs, and expats alike. Combine that with a relatively low cost of living, modern infrastructure, and political stability, and you have a very appealing economic hub. From colony to export powerhouse. Before independence, Malaysia was part of British Malaya, one in a series of colonies designed to fuel the empire's appetite for commodities. At its peak, Malaysia was the largest global supplier of tin, rubber, and palm oil. But post-World War II, as colonialism lost its grip, Malaysia charted its own path. In the 1970s, the newly independent nation adopted a strategic development framework known as the New Economic Policy, NEP. Its primary aims were to tackle poverty, reduce income inequality, and improve education. But it also placed strong emphasis on building up Malaysia's export capacity. Rather than reinventing the wheel, Malaysia studied the success of neighboring economies, most notably the four Asian tigers of Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. By imitating their export-driven strategies and courting foreign investment, Malaysia jump-started its own industrialization. Free trade zones in places like Penang were established to attract multinational companies. Japan became a crucial partner, bringing automotive and electronics expertise that laid the foundation for Malaysia's modern industries. Automotive giants like Mitsubishi and Toyota helped establish local plants. Electronics giants such as Sony and Panasonic expanded Malaysia's reach in consumer electronics. Semiconductor firms like Renesas helped push the country further into tech manufacturing. This surge of foreign direct investment, combined with a relatively disciplined policy environment, helped the country sustain growth, even after shocks like the 1997 Asian financial crisis. Infrastructure, institutions, and public satisfaction. One of Malaysia's quiet strengths is how it has reinvested its export gains into infrastructure. The country boasts some of the best roads, ports, and internet infrastructure in the region. Citizens routinely rank their satisfaction with these systems higher than in wealthier Western countries, a rare and telling sign of effective governance. And while geography alone can't make a country rich, just look at nations rich in oil but poor in long-term planning. Malaysia has used its location smartly. It hasn't simply relied on natural resources, it has turned its physical and geopolitical position into long-term economic leverage. Digital nomads and the rise of the global professional. Another recent development is the influx of global professionals and digital entrepreneurs. With remote work becoming more common, Malaysia has emerged as a haven for skilled workers looking to lower their living costs without sacrificing quality of life. The government has welcomed this trend, offering streamlined visa pathways and remote work incentives. Sure, there are trade-offs. Rising rents in major cities and a modest degree of local displacement. But these migrants are bringing capital, spending power, and service jobs with them, something Malaysia is still benefiting from at this stage of its development. Purchasing power parity, a hidden advantage. One of the most overlooked forces in Malaysia's success story is purchasing power parity, PPP. In simple terms, PPP adjusts income for cost of living, giving a clearer picture of real economic well-being. A salary of $50,000 in Malaysia affords a middle-class lifestyle with access to housing, healthcare, education, and entertainment. That same amount in the US might barely scrape by, especially in expensive cities. Malaysia offers the comforts of a developed economy without the inflated costs, and that's appealing to both individuals and businesses. This dynamic has also helped Malaysia attract international investment. The country offers low operating costs while maintaining modern infrastructure and business-friendly regulation. That's a rare combination. But not without challenges. Of course, there are vulnerabilities. Much of Malaysia's industrial success was built through foreign direct investment and manufacturing partnerships. This meant that much of the innovation was imported, not developed domestically. If key partners, like Japan in the 80s or the US today, slow down, Malaysia risks being stuck with aging infrastructure and outdated industries. Government officials have already issued warnings about weak external demand and a global tech slowdown affecting growth. These aren't just abstract economic headwinds, they are signs that Malaysia must begin to invest in its own research and development and push further up the value chain. Moreover, the country still carries some of the baggage from earlier economic strategies. While the NEP helped reduce poverty and increase access to education, it also implemented race-based quotas for education, employment, and business ownership. Though intended to create equity among Malaysia's diverse population, critics argue that these policies have created inefficiencies and, in some cases, reverse discrimination. Peninsular Malaysia, with its cities and infrastructure, remains far more developed than East Malaysia, which continues to lag behind. If regional inequality persists or deepens, it could pose social and political risks. A dark chapter, the 1MDB scandal. No discussion of Malaysia's recent history would be complete without addressing one of the most infamous corruption scandals in modern times. 1MDB, initially established as a sovereign wealth fund meant to fuel national development, the project was instead used by politically connected elites to siphon off billions. The money intended for public good ended up financing lavish lifestyles, luxury real estate, and even Hollywood movies, most notably The Wolf of Wall Street. It was a devastating blow to public trust and a stain on Malaysia's international image. Rebuilding institutional trust is essential. Without strong, transparent governance, long-term economic ambitions will always be vulnerable to backsliding. What comes next? NIMP 2030 and the tech future. Despite past missteps, Malaysia isn't standing still. The government has introduced the new Industrial Master Plan 2030, NIMP 2030, which outlines a clear path toward a more resilient, high-tech economy. Key pillars include moving up the value chain by increasing manufacturing complexity and developing high-tech industries, investing in R&D and education, especially in science, technology, engineering, and math STEM, sustainability, aiming to build green industries and reduce dependence on volatile commodities. One standout sector is semiconductors. Malaysia is responsible for roughly 13% of global testing and packaging in this space. Global tech firms like Intel and Infineon are investing heavily in Malaysian operations, and the government is funding programs to train thousands of local engineers. This isn't just economic development, it's laying the foundation for a high-income, knowledge-driven economy. Corruption and reform. Still a work in progress. To address the lingering issue of corruption, Malaysia launched the National Anti-Corruption Plan between 2019 and 2023. While results have been mixed, and critics argue that it lacks enforcement muscle, the existence of such a plan signals a broader shift toward institutional reform. Trust is the bedrock of any advanced economy. Without it, investment dries up, innovation stalls, and growth becomes unsustainable. Malaysia is inching forward, but there's still a long way to go. Competition or cooperation? As Malaysia rises, it will inevitably face more competition from neighbors like Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand, all of which are also pursuing similar export and manufacturing-based models. But this doesn't necessarily have to be a zero-sum game. Malaysia, Vietnam, and Singapore are already deeply interconnected through trade and investment. These countries often benefit from each other's growth through shared supply chains and regional partnerships. The future of Southeast Asia isn't about who wins. It's about whether the region as a whole can rise together. Malaysia has gone from a colonial backwater to an emerging economic powerhouse in less than a century. It's a success story built on exports, infrastructure, and smart positioning. But it's also a story of missed opportunities, unresolved disparities, and the need for continued innovation. Ultimately, the only thing standing between Malaysia and lasting prosperity is Malaysia.